D&D Beyond now fits in the palm of your hand with the free D&D Beyond app. It's the perfect tool set for beginners, regular players, and seasoned dungeon masters. Play faster with the guided character creator and access your character sheets, spells, and abilities wherever you go. All of your adventures and source books are at your fingertips, even when you're offline. Easily find and access the rules you need when you need them. With more features to come, download the free D&D Beyond app today.
Hello and welcome to D&D Beyond. My name is Amy Dallen, and I'm really just stretching that out to enjoy it because it's the first time I have gotten to say that, because I am now part of the team here at Phantom Tabletop and at D&D Beyond, and I'm so excited, Joe! Oh my God!
I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome. You can just introduce yourself again if you want. They know me.
Folks who were watching the dev update earlier today will have already met me. I got to do a wonderful just surprise attack on our joy muscles from Joe Starr, who threw me and Melly Doucette, the incredible community manager, and my new teammate, Michael Galvis, who you're all going to love so much. All of us into battle earlier in the dev update, trial by fire. As we rolled into it, and I'm just generally thrilled to be in this team, and I have so much to talk to y'all about. But first, we actually have an agenda today, which is, Joe, we need an adventure. We need a plan.
Yes.
We don't have a plan. How do we get from no plan to some level of plan? Because the party can't wreck the plan if there isn't a plan to wreck.
Exactly. So I have, I now have 3 friends. Named Melly, Michael, and Amy. I would like to put them through their paces in a D&D game. But I want to homebrew something. Amy, I have no idea where to start. There must be a better way.
Well, obviously there are a wealth of resources for this. There's, of course, you want to check out your Dungeon Master's Guide. That is your first friend, your best friend. But to help add to that, I wrote a little article for D&D Beyond, and I'm going to see if what sounded real good to me when I was writing all these steps actually works when we try to put it in practice and put together a plan based on my article, which was, what did we call it? We called it Build Your First Homebrew Adventure in 10 Easy Steps. And I emphasize that because I was a very nervous DM. I'd been playing for a long time before I started DMing. And this did not, I was initially like, I can't, genius, deep people come up with perfect worlds, just like breathing. And that's how they do it. I can't do that. It turns out it's really fun. It is possible. And I wrote down some of the tricks that I use when I need to do it. So if you're not intimidated, that's awesome. Keep kicking butt. But if you are, these tips are for you. Okay, so Joe, step 1, what's the problem?
Okay, so I've never done this before. I don't know what you mean.
Great. The first question you might want to ask yourself to sort of run down this checklist of like, do I have a plan for this adventure? Is that as much as I love the idea of like, just sit in a park, nothing goes wrong. Usually you get really interesting stories if you're sitting in a park and then something goes wrong, or you need to tackle either an emergency or a mystery or a situation worth investigating, or an NPC who's in need, something you need to get, something you need to deliver, somebody in some kind of danger, but there's a problem in the world your party is going to find out about or have to try and solve or make worse. That's up to them.
Okay. Let's see here. So I need some help like coming up with an inspiration, I think. But something that I've been watching on Netflix that I think is cool is Shadow and Bone. So what if I have to go do a job so that my party has to go do a job so that one of their friends can be bought out of service and bondage from an evil organization.
So getting out of a bad contract.
Yeah, getting out of a bad contract.
All right. You need to, so that the problem there is they are going to need to make some money. because their friend is in this bad contract, and they need to come up with the money to get them out of that contract, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Or maybe the terms of the contract is go do this, and we're free and clear.
Okay, so they have two paths: get the money for it, or complete this task. All right. So the problem is that someone your party cares about is stuck in a bad contract, and they are going to need to complete a task in order to work off that debt, or get the money themselves. So that brings us to step 2, actually. Step 2 in my list is who needs you? And in this case, I feel like we have an answer. Who is this friend of theirs who's stuck in the bad contract?
It's let's see here. So the 3 people that are playing in my game, I have my friend Melly is playing an elven wizard named Lizelith. My friend Michael is playing a halfling named Hamel, who I think has been in prison a lot. And my friend Amy is playing a turtle named Lim, who's also a rogue. Hamel's been in prison a lot, so maybe one of their best friends from jail, their best jail friend, is in this bad contract.
Absolutely. And I'm very sorry to Hamel's real life party, who we're just sort of implicating in this. But we're adding someone new to your rotation here, who just gets themselves in trouble all the time. And this time might need a little more help than we counted on. Okay. So they're going to need to do some kind of job to pay off this debt. Step 3. What could go wrong? Is this are there physical dangers? Are there dangers of betrayal along the way in this task that they need to do to work off this debt?
I guess that the first thing I can think of for this like step in figuring out what this adventure is maybe there is a rival group that is also both pursuing the thing and also wants to buy out the contract of jail best friend because maybe they don't like him much, and they want it.
Ooh. Or they have someone they're trying to free.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I like that even more. Yeah, they have, because I love me a sympathetic villain. Yeah, I love that. They also have maybe whatever faceless evil organization this is. Maybe someone's got their mob dad also behind bars or something like this. So we're all pursuing the same object, which is going to result in somebody's freedom.
So they both ran afoul of the same guild leader in Waterdeep, who has just likes to keep a lot of people in trouble, right?
Yeah. Oh, I dig this.
So that's some what could go wrong. We should flesh out that problem a little bit with this next one. What's the big finish? Or where is this all going? Do you have in mind, like, for them to complete this task, do you kind of have an image of, like, what you want to throw them up against or what you want them to have to confront? Is it literally a race against the other party? Is it a giant cave full of spiders? I'm a big fan of cave full of spiders.
So when you're asking me, I'm just making sure I know how to answer the question right. When you're asking me, like, where's this all headed? This is sort of like if Indiana Jones is like trying to get the Ark, this is like or he's trying to get the Grail. Like this is all going to end up in that temple in the desert, and
well, it's going to lead through the temple in the desert. Although the big climax might be the actual like opening scene. That would be an interesting how we would assign the various pieces where you're building towards the bad guys getting it and it melts their faces off, right? Yeah. The what could go wrong is a lot of the steps in the middle.
I think, look, I'm going to go traditional here. I'm going to admit something to you, Amy. I can't remember the last time I put a dungeon in a game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
So it's all going to end in a dungeon.
Excellent.
They need to head, the thing that they need to get is in a dungeon.
It's classic for a reason. They are going to have to get to the deepest room in that dungeon where the artifact is before that other party can get there. And maybe it has a guardian. I don't know. Now, you have great story instincts, so you're getting a little ahead of the steps too. Step 5 is why me, an adventurer's plea. And this is about getting your party involved. Why should they care about this problem? If you haven't found a reason, like you have someone that needs them, but you didn't build in that connection, this is where you would go back through and make sure, like, why aren't they just going to walk past this like a telephone pole that says adventurers wanted and then being like, not for us?
Right. And yeah, I guess you're right. I already sort of made this question, like I made it a direct relation to one of my players. So hopefully the other players will like that character enough to go along with this. Let's see here. What are some other good reasons why they might care enough to do this? If it was someone else, or if it was someone who wasn't like directly linked, it could always be, maybe someone who they find out about in a town was wrongfully imprisoned, and I'm trying to flame their sense of justice. Maybe that person has a very sympathetic grandpa that needs them back to help take care of them.
That's a second stage of the who needs you. You've added sort of another person that will need to get this person free. I love that.
Yeah, just so that they always see the face of that grandpa as they're moving through this. Or maybe even it could be a person who something bad is happening to a town. Maybe it's all slowly being petrified, and the only person who can counter that curse is the person who's in jail. And so they're trying to save, so they're trying to get the thing that will free them from their contract, which I guess is jail. They're a prisoner within the organization that they work for.
Sure.
So the only way to get the contract, free them, and then they have to go save the town.
I love that. And that sets you up where if this is just a one shot and you're trying to get to the end of the dungeon, you can have in mind that once the person is out, you can then go about the town saving on your next session or your next adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're lucky enough to have a 2-shot, we've set it up a little bit.
You've planted some seeds that you can harvest later. All right. Well, speaking of harvesting those seeds later, step 6 on my checklist, and this is one that comes up for me a lot, especially when I'm trying to plan a one shot that I know needs to be in and out at a certain time. Are your eyes bigger than your stomach? AKA watch the clock. And this is obviously a factor when you're having everybody coordinate schedules online or if you're streaming a game, but it also is true at home. Even if you're just hanging out in somebody's living room, lucky enough to all be in person playing some D&D, you still are going to have to stop and eat at some point. Someone has to go. Everyone is considering their family and their other needs. You still have to have some idea of how you're going to kind of keep this thing manageable so that if you don't get lucky enough to have a bunch more steps, you'll have something fulfilling to chew on. Now, do you have any suggestions on how you would alter your own for that? I feel like you've set yourself up for success here.
I think, let's say, if we've got an hour, if we have 2 hours, because while none of us should really have any needs besides playing this game, I guess I'll respect the idea that someone might, have a kid or a life. So maybe if we've got 2 hours, maybe I sort of cut some exposition and just drop them at the entrance of the dungeon.
Okay.
So that they are aware what's going on, and then they are aware that this other group is in hot pursuit.
I love that. And you can just sort of narrate that in and give them that crisis and put them on a clock. Let's see. That actually... You're great at this. The next step, in case you haven't already figured it out for yourself, is step 7. How do we get into this? And that is about crafting the way in or figuring out what your first scene will be. And you just looked at your time constraints and decided, okay, actually, we're just gonna jump in right at the start of the dungeon. But what are some alternate ways you could go if you wanted to pick what your opening scene is gonna be or how you're gonna get people into the adventure?
I think, if I wanted, look, I steal a lot, right? And a lot of my style is like, what's that thing that I like, and how can I make it mine? So
I just want to say that's D&D tradition. I think we can
I
all
mean,
agree.
yeah. Like I tried to make a slightly more horrifying over the garden wall experience for you guys in our little dev update one shot. But uh, uh, I think, you know, if I wanted to steal something dramatic from like a Kurosawa or, you know, a traditional Western, maybe a third friend from that party's old crime days shows up stabbed on their last legs to tell them that like this is the last chance, you know, our friend is in danger, this is their only chance at survival, is going to get this thing from this dungeon, please, you got to do it for us.
That's fantastic. You've got a sense of urgency. There's limited time to argue with that NPC. You've built in a personal connection. That's probably you know, I guess those people you're borrowing from they're pretty good at what they do in terms of setting up exciting high stakes scenarios.
And I think you know, Amy, you're really good at like gauging a table and really like playing to their needs. And I think sort of maybe those two options we have are like, if you're playing with a new group that's just like, I don't really know what this is, when do I punch something, you start them at the dungeon. If you're playing with a group that really kind of like wants to strap in and like play some characters and walk in somebody else's shoes and stuff like that, maybe the beginning is the beginning to go with.
I love that. Tailoring the scenes and the pacing to the folks and what they might be looking for is always going to kind of help you out there. And next up, we will talk about step 8, which is how do we get out of it? And that, for me, it ties into that like big finish question, which is sort of the big finish question is to help you get like a vision, an idea of like, oh, and at the end they'll do this or fight that or land there. But there are still going to be a couple of ways this can go. And you can't account, obviously, for everything your players might do. But what are a couple of ways you could see this ending so that you can be sort of prepared? What obviously one you laid already in is if they get the person back, they could carry on to try to save the village if you're going with a scenario where that person has a special power that's needed to depetrify the town. What are some ways this could go? How do we get out of it?
Well, I guess you know, there's a few ways to sort of see these final moments. You know, they succeed and then, you know, they ride off into the sunset to go rescue their pal, or to go, you know, free their pal. They fail and maybe get chased out of the dungeon. And you know, they're left to regroup, and now they have to steal the thing that they have to steal from the evil group that has already now stolen it before they could steal it. And you know, that's our next time. Because I think too, you know, even a loss, you should sort of try to figure out how to spin as like, well, this is just the start of something new.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is just an extra wrinkle and a complication. So those might be, or maybe there's a surprise twist with the thing they have to steal that makes them start to question, like, if they should take it after all. Maybe this MacGuffin is not what they expected.
There's always that classic scenario. You get to the thing and it's something that you actually aren't sure you want to turn over to the guild boss who likes to make people owe favors. And then you gotta, you know, go on the run with it, or turn it back in, or trade it for your friend, or break your friend out and deliver it to a third party. The world is sort of your oyster at that point. I love it. All right. Step 9 is just sort of a DM prep step. I called it wait, what if? And that is sort of a reminder to be like, all right, what aren't we thinking of? Do you have some extra names or situations or places in mind? What if they just try to skip the dungeon and burrow in from the other side? Is there a town over there? What are some like backup scenarios you might, or not scenarios, but some backups you want to have ready here?
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I think that's something I never like, as much as I'm always like, here's the front door. I feel like that's always
Players
an invitation for
windows.
Yeah, players go for windows, players go for burrowing or making their own trapdoor, right? Those are great questions. I think, yeah, as like side stuff, maybe there is like a small like miners village that's there. Um, I always like to, maybe instead of trying to fight these people that are chasing them, in my home game, we try to befriend everything. Everything.
It is very good to be prepared for the event that your players want to be friends with everything, because
we're in Icewind Dale, and we the name of it escapes me off the top of my head, but I don't want to spoil Icewind Dale stuff, but so without spoiling Icewind Dale stuff, we have like a house that we all live in now in one of the towns, and it's just full of our friends that we have made in every adventure, including like a mummy and like 3 kobolds. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So
this is a party so much after my own heart.
Well, knowing them, if I was playing with them, I would be like, I need to know who a few people in the gang are, because they're going to try to approach some of them on a personal level. So they can't just be like nameless like bandits. I've got to know at least that like there's Dave and there's Frank, and he's new and he's very freaked out that he's here. There's Frank's brother, Tank.
Frank and Tank, yes, of course.
Yeah,
the well-known
Frank
brothers.
And Tank, and Tank's very protective of his brother, Tank, and so we'll maybe, even if he's not a good guy, he'll still go along with whatever it is that like his brother ends up doing. So if I know that my party has an inclination for like, let's be friends, or anything beyond like let's roll for initiative and just kill things, which is also fine, by the way. Sometimes I miss just rolling for initiative and killing things instead of being like, how can we turn them to our side? So I want to be prepared for that, probably. In the case of this group, I know that my friend Amy is playing a turtle rogue who is also an anthropologist. So I should probably have some fun facts ready to go about the dungeon. Some things for Amy's character to discover. I know that Lisa Lith is a very sort of like fun wizard. And I know that her player, Melly, really likes to personalize spells and really individualize things and make them her own. So I might want to come up with something sort of fun and arcane and something very unique for her to discover or play with. And then Camel, my friend Michael's character, is a halfling who seems very nervous all the time and has been in jail several times before and has been in some spills. So I will, is my sneak attacky kind of rogue. My sneak attacky bard / sorcerer. So very not a rogue. My anthropologist is my rogue. Sorry, I forgot. But he plays very rogue-ish, and that's why I put that in my head. Very like tricky and like clever.
Oh, it was fabulous. The fake out, the runaway, and turn around and haha spells. It was crisis moment.
So I think I'd want to have some funny like why did it have to be snakes kind of moments for this very like nervous character.
Yes.
To sort of play off of some of that. So I think I would try to think of like one thing to kind of be prepped for each character, and then if I know some overall vibes from them, I want to be thinking ahead on those things too.
I love that. If you're lucky enough to have player info in advance like that, it's so nice to be able to lace that kind of stuff in. And step 10 has a lot within it, but it's the what now, putting it together. And this is where you would sort of be like, all right, I've got my brainstorms. I know some scenes I want to lean towards. I know some complications that I want to come up. Now you got to start just writing down who were the important NPCs. You're obviously going to need the rival party with Frank and Tank. You're going to need the name of the guy who is in jail and possibly the sympathetic grandpa, depending on which version we're settling on. And you're probably going to need some obstacles. Like what kind of monsters you want to put in that dungeon?
Oh, well, you know what? We went tradition and we dungeoned. Can we dragon?
that will make for a great where is this all going, right? In the heart of that dungeon is actually in these adventures, maybe they've been in a million of these before and they're like, there's never actually dragons. What are the odds there's really a dragon this time?
I'm so
What if
excited.
there is?
I've never done this. Okay, yeah, let me find, hang on. I'm going to jump in to the encounter builder. And for my step 10 here, I have my friends Amy, Michael, and Melly. Their characters are all loaded in. And I'm going to search dragon and we're going to see what happens. Okay, we've got
I see a great
dragon.
comment. KPL here says that is why you do a session 0 with a wink, which is a great get some info from your players. Definitely, whether you're able to have an actual full session 0 or just make sure you have a conversation where you discuss safety and tone and concerns, and it's like your best weapon as a DM. Thank you for mentioning that. That's a great call.
No, that's an absolutely great call. Okay, so let's say I'm just going through here and I want to figure out what I just want to like find something fun. And what if this place is full of tiny fairy dragons? Okay, that doesn't seem like a crazy encounter. What if there's a room full of tiny fairy dragons, like the Tooth Fairy scene in Hellboy?
And of course, here's where you can use the estimator to kind of roughly map out what you're going to want to throw at them. You can fine tune, but you can get your ideas going based on all this.
Yeah, but if I'm looking for what my little big bad is going to be, as much as dragon turtles are my favorite thing, I don't think we can fit one in this dungeon, since they are kind of big giant kaiju. So let's go a little more traditional, and we'll go with a wormling. Let's go with a green dragon wormling. You know what? That one's still not the challenge difficulty there. Still
what
not
if it's
very hard.
A wormling and some fairy dragons?
Yes, I dig that, and they're friends, and they're defending their turf.
Messing up their dragon party.
Yeah, I dig that. Or I can just straight up let's go the original box set, and we'll throw a young red dragon in there, and everybody's doomed. Yeah.
Then your next campaign is avenging the tragic deaths of this entire party.
Exactly.
Which, if everybody's into it, can be a fun way to go.
Someone can play the guy that we were supposed to be rescuing, and he gets a crew together once he's out, and they go to avenge the friends that were supposed to rescue him. It's just a great big circle.
We do have a couple of questions that came in, I believe, from our lore themselves. I've never had a one-shot be able to finish in one session. What's your best advice for cutting when things are suddenly running low on time? This question is close to my heart because I have often made plans that are too elaborate for the amount of time that I have. So I know, for instance, in a dungeon, I am not above straight up cutting a room. They don't know that it was originally there. Your mileage may vary on that one. Sometimes you wanted to save that layout and get back to it later. But the truth is, if they haven't seen it yet, if nothing else depends on the fact that you put it in the world, only you know it was supposed to be there. Do you have any fave tips, Joe?
Yeah, no, I've been in situations where, we had these hard outs, and
a hard out is a term meaning we have to finish definitely at this exact time. It's more common in some settings and sometimes less common. This is just for anyone watching who might not have heard that before.
Yeah, at 8 o'clock, I got to go feed my dog or he's going to eat the sofa. So like my hard out is 7:50, right? I've tried to do like one shots that were, leading up to a big final battle. And then I've realized I've had to just talk them through what happened Final Fantasy style. Like I had to turn a slightly not the final battle into their final battle, and then was like, epilogue. Here's what happens next in the next 2 minutes. So sorry, everybody.
Well, and if you have to do that, I've been in situations like that before, and something that you can do is, that you were depending on all the drama coming from that big confrontation. But because, again, you're spinning the story as you go, sometimes you can look for ways to make the last couple of rolls that you do have time for, figure out how consequential you can make them. Does Does the finding step right at the end that had like a minor danger, can you elevate the danger that's confronting them in the finding so that the big victory that they will or won't get is getting to the entrance? Because there are lots of things where it's like, yeah, a ton of interesting stuff happened after the movie ending, and it was all about the journey just to get to the exterior of the temple. Like, it was the fight through the jungle was the story. The temple is for next movie or for the novelization or for the, sequel comic.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the art of the cliffhanger is really important here, and your table will never know that that's not where you meant to put a cliffhanger. Even if, they'll probably know if it's mid-fight, but because there's no way you could have planned like, okay, we're going to end this sucker 3 rounds into this fight with this dragon. But even if, everyone's had a turn, right? In a fight, everyone, no one is still waiting to go for the first time or something like that. But let's say you're like, okay, we've got like 10 minutes left. That's about enough time to get through. I've got 3 players, 1 dragon. That's about enough time to get through 1 turn. As long as I can kind of get through that, and then describe like a big action for the dragon, or maybe even a twist, like maybe something they've done has affected the environment, and like, oh, the dragon, you stabbed the dragon and the pain makes it rack its tail like into a support beam, and all of a sudden like everything's caving in, and like that's where we'll end today's session. So I think, for the most part, they're never going to know that that's not where you meant to be. Like, the door opens into inky blackness beyond the unknown, and that's where we'll end. They don't know, and they'll be so stoked. I think as DMs, we're instantly like, I'm going to disappoint someone, and they're always so stoked and pleased and happy with you and proud of you. So yeah, don't stress yourself out too much.
Easy to feel like, yeah, I need this to run exactly the way I imagined it in my head, or it hasn't worked. And the truth is that tuning into your players, like, especially if it didn't end exactly where you wanted, or with the things that seemed like that, your players spent that time on something, and you can reward whatever it was they spent their time on by elevating the importance to a certain extent within the structure of your story. And then it feels, that's the secret is they're like, how did you plan that perfectly? And we're like, yeah, we definitely did.
Boy, it did. And I think you're right. You mentioning their experiences is a great point, because I think for us, it's hard for us to remember that and think about it that way. Because for us, the experience is the fact that they didn't get to 8 pages of what you put down. But for them, the experience is that they love that half page they did go through. And that's probably more valid than our 8 pages, right? Because that was the point. Like that was the important part. So yeah.
Absolutely. I will say structurally, it's usually easier to cut something from the middle and take them straight to the end. If you are planning out pieces that are optional, put them in the middle. Because you'll be like, how much time did we spend finding out about the friend who was in trouble? We might need to go straight to the front of the dungeon. Whereas if they get right to work, you might need to be like, whoop, there's a bandit attack on the road.
Yeah, I like to I like to sort of write out my one shot and then pull out everything except the most essential stuff, and maybe even put it in another column where it's like, here's what these are the 3 things that I need, and then here's like the 6 things I came up with that I can plug in as needed.
Oh, I love that.
Because you're right, it's so much easier to add back in than to have to like take out on the fly.
And there was that comment earlier I liked from Feather's Flight, who said the timing thing is something to consider even for individual sessions in a campaign. We've been talking a lot about one-shots and if you need to wrap it up right now, but you can use some of these pacing ideas, even if just to make sure, did today feel like we got something done? Did today feel like it was rewarding? And that's just sort of trying to on the fly go back through, okay, what did we spend our time on? Like when you have half an hour or an hour left in your session, you can start putting an eye on, all right, if I get one more big memorable thing that's going to happen, what do I think it might look like? And setting that up or steering the players a little bit to the extent that that's possible in that direction.
Totally.
And that was the 10 steps. Next up is running the adventure, which is just mostly a bunch of tips in my article on relax and remember that you are all helping each other to tell this story and to have a great time. And I can't promise that every table is perfect, but at the right tables, you all know that you are here to have a good time and that it takes all of you together to do that. And man, it's a whole lot of fun. What do you
That's the
think?
best. I love this this article that you put up. I think it's a great just framework to just really like pop out like a okay, I need X, Y, and Z, and then we can go. And we're talking about timing and stuff like that. Just the answering these questions with just some simple bare bones answers might even like help you with timing. Look at me. At first I was like, oh, what if it's a buddy they need to get out of jail? Oh, but what if there's also a rival group and they want the buddy too? Oh, and what if he has a special power? Like, those are all great ideas, and you can use them later for something else. But for now, like, buddy needs help. Like real simple answers to these 10 questions, I think will also just really help you with your time management. And you'll realize, oh man, just with just these really rudimentary things, because I also really want to get into it and just make everything flow in my world feel lived. And like, I really want to get into the details. But sometimes just giving some bare bones, this, a dungeon, and a dragon will give you just like a really fully realized fun adventure that you can actually knock out in 2 to 3 hours.
So if anybody tries this, just for the record, I would really love to hear about it. Please tweet at us, tweet at D&D Beyond, tweet at Joe, tweet at me to be like, this worked or this didn't work. That's just a selfish appeal on my part that I would love to know, that I'm sort of handing this forward, because I learned a lot of these tricks from other folks who ran wonderful games for me, and that is how we do this. We pass it forward. And yeah, I do find these steps are not real, like you have to do one and then the other. You could jump around to these in any order, but they work as a checklist for me to be like, did I forget to consider how I'm going to get them into this? Am I sitting here with a beautiful, glorious vision of what they need to do and totally forgot that I've got to communicate that to them in some way that they will care about? Right. And sometimes that's a very easy fix. You have someone in your party who loves gold, and these people have some gold to offer, and your problem is solved.
Nailed it.
Some problems are not that complex, but it's a nice way to be like, I've checked. I did remember to have a conflict or a bad guy or something that can go wrong. I've run through this. I've got an adventure that hopefully we will all have a great time with and feel proud of. And that is it for today. Joe, I love your adventure.
Thank you very much. Thank you for helping me put it together. And I'm so stoked that you're here. I know everybody is. And please take us out. I guess pull the ship back in for your first voyage.
I will be joining y'all for a lot of these streams in the future, because I, along with Michael Gabus, are now part of the Fandom Tabletop team, and I'm so excited to be here working on D&D Beyond for obvious reasons. It's D&D Beyond. I cannot wait to talk more about great games, to bring as many folks into this as I can, to tell me things that I want to learn, because once again, I found the angle that I want out of this. I'm going to learn from everybody. It's going to be so good. I hope you'll join us for those next week. But first, this weekend, the Jaspers Game Week streams are happening, and some truly incredible tables have been assembled. Just mind-blowingly cool tables, including some folks who gave to Jaspers to do this for the incredibly good cause of suicide prevention and mental health awareness. I am so proud of what they all put together, even though I had nothing to do with it. I'm just excited to be on the team now that gets to appreciate them. I hope that you will check them out this weekend, throw some love and support that way, and we will see you next time.
Hi, guys.
D&D Beyond now fits in the palm of your hand with the free D&D Beyond app. It's the perfect tool set for beginners, regular players, and seasoned dungeon masters. Play faster with the guided character creator and access your character sheets, spells, and abilities wherever you go. All of your adventures and source books are at your fingertips, even when you're offline. Easily find and access the rules you need when you need them. With more features to come, download the free D&D Beyond app today.